I'm Narges Bajoghli. I am an Iranian American, was born in Iran and moved to the United States when I was 4. I'm an anthropologist and I focus a lot on media production.
This threat of terrorism was birthed out of the coverage of what was happening in Iran from 1979 onwards.
The best way to describe Iran International is kind of like Fox News in the United States.
I have been paying very close attention to the ways in which, for many years now, the Middle East has been framed in a particular way to allow for and justify forever wars.
I think the fight for the future of Western civilization is happening right here. And I think Israel is leading that fight.
What are you doing about it to help the Americans, to help the civilised world defeat this brutal sort of neo-Nazi regime?
What has been so striking for me is the way in which I've been watching the Iranian diaspora being utilized for a justification for this war that is currently taking place in Iran.
The United States has pulled the most successful military operation in history of mankind. The whole top echelon of the Islamic Republic has been dismantled in a few hours.
In Iran, you have a population of over 90 million. We don't have exact numbers on the diaspora, but it's also multiple millions throughout the world. The Iranian diaspora has had different ideas about what kind of political future should exist in Iran. You had people who supported a secular republic as the future of Iran, those who were more from the leftist end of the spectrum, those who wanted the monarchy back, those who believed in reform in the country. And these different elements all really disagreed with one another, had debates with one another, and there was a very real diversity.
The Iranian people have been living under not just pressure from the above, from their own regime, but also pressure from the outside, from the United States.
There are specific steps that the U.S. administration can take to really address the root cause, as I said, in dealing with the head of the snake in Iran.
In the past couple of months, that conversation has become really heated, and the people that are being platformed in mainstream spaces in the United States, mainstream media spaces, have often been folks from the Iranian diaspora who, in one way or another, talk about the desire for Iranians for liberation and freedom.
Iranians understand and know that President Trump and his administration are fighting to liberate the Iranian people.
We always saw this less of a war, more of a rescue mission to, I suppose, take out the machinery of repression.
I see many of these folks as really being desperate for change in Iran, which I can understand. But what strikes me is that they have either been asleep or are not paying attention to these various regime change wars in the Middle East that the United States has now waged for over 25 years. They are still calling for change from the exact powers that have destroyed these societies.
This is the message that Iranians want me to send to President Trump. Do not leave us alone with this wounded, murderous regime. Finish the job.
When I look at clips like this, the issue with this kind of framing is that what is being sold to the public is very similar to what apparently President Trump got in his briefings right before he launched this war, which is that all the Iranian regime needs is another push and then it will collapse, or all the Revolutionary Guard needs in order to defect is to see that the United States or Europe really mean business and then they will defect and the regime will collapse. The reality is that, as we've seen through 40 days of war thus far, the Islamic Republic is an extremely resilient political establishment.
This war could last another 3.5 weeks or so. Has Iran asked for a ceasefire?
No, we never asked for a ceasefire, and we have never asked even for negotiation. We are ready to defend ourselves as long as it takes.
Get rid of the supreme leader. I am totally fine for him to blow him into wherever he wants to go. He does not deserve to be on this earth any longer.
When I hear Iranians in diaspora say these kinds of things on mainstream media, what I hear is more a desire, an illusion of what they want, rather than an analysis that is based in reality. A lot of Iranians want a very different system, but they also understand that, first of all, war really represses the internal environment. Dissent is stamped out, just like in any country that is under war. and that secondly, it actually entrenches the Islamic Republic.
The version of the Islamic Republic that will come out of this is likely going to be more hawkish, more radical, more repressive.
This is the moment that Iranian people have been waiting for 47 years. The Islamic Republic understands only language of force.
Masih Alinejad gets a lot of airtime because she says what a lot of mainstream media right now desires, which is a framing of this as a war of liberation. Masih Alinejad has been supported by the United States government, by different elements within the pro-Israel world, because she is willing and able to sort of put this framing consistently out there, and she has been doing so for years now.
If the Western countries and democratic countries do not get united to end Islamic terror, believe me, they will get united to end democracy and to end every single of us.
So she does not represent anyone beyond herself, and she has to, in many ways, say these kinds of things in media in order to continue to be called upon. And this is a huge business and an industry.
With me now is Reza Pahlavi, the exiled Crown Prince of Iran. Good to be with you,
John.
Mr. Pahlavi. Thank you so much for taking the time.
So Reza Pahlavi is the son of the former Shah of Iran. He was a teenager when the revolution happened and they had to leave the country.
I think the president was absolutely correct when he says there has to be a change of direction. And that's exactly what the Iranian people are asking.
But if the Iranian people now had the support of the president, will that encourage them to take to the streets in even greater numbers and put more pressure on the regime from within?
Yes, and I think that
Reza Pahlavi in and of himself is not a charismatic leader. He was never able to have a huge following behind him in all of these years, up until fairly recently. One of the reasons that he's been pushed to the forefront, again, is that he seems to be the favored person from the Israeli end.
Your leadership is a leadership of peace and tolerance, unlike the extremists who rule Iran today.
They have been really supportive of him in the political realm and in the diaspora. There's also a number of Iranian diaspora satellite television stations that are broadcast in Persian into Iran that have been pushing Reza Pahlavi and the pre-revolutionary time as this nostalgic, ideal time that Iran must return to.
در این قسمت نگاهی داریم به فیلم خیلی جالبی از سال 1342 با نام یک روز در زندگی ولیعهد ایران با حضور شاه، شهبانو و البته ولیعهد کوچک رضا پهلوی.
I began to see a big shift in the diaspora and those who supported the war once the United States and Israel started to attack civilian infrastructure in Iran, especially all of the infrastructure that the country would need to rebuild, from factories to bridges to oil depots. And once Trump started to tweet about destroying a whole civilization, then Iranians in diaspora began to see this not as a war against the Islamic Republic, but as a war against the Iranian nation as a whole. And I think a lot of people are beginning to have buyer's remorse.
Non, d'abord, je dirais que nous n'avons jamais cherché des interventions militaires dans notre pays.
Reza Pahlavi now says that he didn't call for any kind of military intervention in Iran, even though he very forcefully did.
Only a military intervention at this point could level the playing field. Well, it could be an American strike, it could be Israeli strike, it could be whatever.
One of the reasons for this change is that he is receiving a lot of blowback within the Iranian diaspora and from within Iran itself. That first of all, he's one of the only political leaders who has called for military intervention into his country in Iran's history. And so they're seeing him as a traitor for this. And the second is that he actually was not able to deliver. He said that if there is a military intervention, Iranians in Iran would come out, folks within the Revolutionary Guard would defect, and this would be a very quick war, and that he could then help run the country. That has obviously not turned out to be the case. Wars do not bring liberation. What wars do is they create broken societies and enraged populations. And that is something that is disheartening for me to watch when I see the Iranian diaspora calling for these kinds of strikes and wars on Iran.
Thanks for watching. Leave us a like or a comment to let us know what you thought about anything we covered this week. The links to our social media and our newsletter are in the description. That's where you can follow us for updates from the show.